finish the way I started.
I would be ashamed of doing this. Wow. As you can get started now. I can go take a picture. You can see that. Okay. I'll make sure that they get all you get on top here. What's he?
We're going to start.
Abel, Kalamai, Abel, we're going to start then. I think you. Okay, you've done that already, Abel. So come on.
That means I get all you guys covered.
Okay, so.
Nobody over here. Where these other guys over here? They're not here. Okay.
Okay, Abel, thank you. Okay, aloha everyone. Welcome to the Board of Land and Natural Resources oral arguments held in Hilo, Hawaii. It is February 12th. Here we are in the Hilo County building. First of all, I want to thank the kupuna who came and pikai the room at the beginning. I'm sure that the intent really was for the cleansing of everyone in the room, so I appreciate that. Mahalo to the Hawaii Island County offices for allowing us to have this hearing in this room. I want to remind people in the audience that this is oral arguments and it is not public. It's not a public hearing, so we won't be taking public testimony. It is the petitioners in the contested case hearing for the Conservation District use permit that are to be heard today. So I just wanted to make that very, very clear. The order is the University of Hawaii will present. If they wish, they can reserve some time for rebuttal, and then the petitioners will present, and then we will close the, if there is rebuttal, we will hear rebuttal, and then we will close the hearing with decision making to be done at a later time. So with that, aloha, we'll start with Timothy Kwan.
Aloha, Chairman Aila, members of the My name is Tim Louis Kwan. I'll be presenting the final arguments for the applicant, University of Hawaii. With me today are members of our legal team.
Excuse me. One other piece of information that's important is each side is going to be given 30 minutes to present. Do you want to reserve time for rebuttal at this time?
Yes, I would like to reserve at least 10 minutes of 30 minutes for rebuttal. The timekeeper can actually prompt me at 15 minutes and at 20. I appreciate it.
So your time begins now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Gene, how's this? Is it okay? Okay, thank you. Also with me today is University of Hawaii at Hilo Chancellor Dr. Donald Strang and Ms. Stephanie Nagata, who is Director of the Office of Mauna Kea Management for Hawaii. We'd like to thank the board for and the department staff for coming to Hilo today to hold all our arguments. Their proof and providing credible evidence supporting their claims and ultimately their position on whether a conservation district use permit should be issued. However, the evidentiary proceedings before the hearing officer is done, and the parties are here today to provide you with a summary of legal reasons why they should prevail, a summation of the evidence and legal authority. While an important part of the due process, oral argument is not evidence. It is only argument. It's important to keep in mind the scientific and educational purpose of this project, which is considered when completed along with the large Hadron Collider constructed at the CERN project in Switzerland to be one of the two greatest scientific achievements of this century. As noted by Professor Michael Bolte in his testimony, the study and observation of the universe is the oldest of the exact sciences that stretches far back into man's prehistory. Astronomy is one of the first subjects recorded in historical accounts by the planet's earliest literate civilizations. In ancient Egypt, the date for the annual flooding of the Nile was predicted by the chemical rising of the star. Their observations of the heavens also told the main kingdoms of Central America when it began, and the Chinese when to start the new year, Kuni Fachai. Our earliest memory observations allowed us to measure time, when and what to hunt, gather and plant. Later, the study of stars and planets took us to far places, countless journeys and trackless expanses, and made it possible for us to navigate our way home. It has seen the rise and fall of every great civilization and witnessed the creation of all the world's religions, often providing the foundation for the most and cultural practices. And as believers with proof that the universe is so large and complex, can only be the work of God or gods. Sort of flying in our hands some of the largest telescopes in operation today, the twin Keck telescopes in Mauna Kea, allowing us to see farther and with more detail than anything in operation. Once TMT is operational, it will be the first and the next generation of giant telescopes that will seek the answers for questions on the nature, origin, and composition of the universe, and whether there is life elsewhere out there. The selection of Mauna Kea as the site for the construction of the TMT is essential if Mauna Kea will continue to be the world's best ground-based viewing platform for astronomy. After considering 6 possible locations in Chile, Mexico, and Hawaii, it was determined that Mauna Kea's viewing conditions, its high altitude, atmospheric clarity, relative darkness, together with the accessibility of the Mauna Kea Science Reserve and its outstanding support facilities and infrastructure, and neighboring observatories and the supporting local community made the selection an easy choice. Its location on the mountain's northwestern plateau was identified in the 2000 master plan. Is best suited for this type of observatory. At a lower elevation, and less visible than the other telescopes within the precinct, while avoiding the most sensitive areas in terms of Mauna Kea's natural and cultural resources. The location selected provides additional mitigation while providing access to a spectacular night sky, another precious resource of Mauna Kea, allowing the TMT visibility a wonderful union to the universe. Current investment in astronomy in Mauna Kea is close to $1 billion. However, the investment of the TMT project and other supporting services is expected to more than double that by the time the facility is completed. The project will be an enormous benefit to the public welfare and bring significant monies to the local economy, as well as contribute new programs and funds to Big Island schools. Moreover, these benefits have been vetted and discussed with the community and all the public meetings during the planning process. And describing the record, the TMT project will provide employment and educational opportunities for Hawaii in a clean, high-tech endeavor that will be a source of pride for the community while advancing our understanding of the universe. Petitioners here have been involved in the planning process long before the submission of this application in September 2010. However, they now claim that they've been denied due process in these proceedings. The truth is that most of the same petitioners have been involved in the planning process from the very beginning, even bringing a challenge to the board's adoption of the Mauna Kea Comprehensive Management Plan, the CMP, and its sub-plans, though resulting instead in Indian Court of Appeals affirmation of the board's action and process in approving the CMP. Petitioners have had an abundance of due process, and they have had more than ample opportunity to prove their claims that the board's criteria for issuance of a CDEP for the construction and operation of the TMT has not been met. They submitted testimony in the public hearing of the application. They fully participated in the contested case hearings held over a 6-month period in 2011, as reflected in the proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law. What the petitioners experienced was not a denial of due process. It was a failure of proof to support their claims they argued vigorously, repeatedly. In truth, they would oppose any further telescope development, no matter where placed within the astronomy precinct, and no matter what manner of construction. The board delegated to the hearing officer the responsibility to hear, review, and consider evidence offered by the parties in support of their respective positions. His proposed findings and conclusions should be afforded considerable deference, as he was able to assess the credibility and demeanor of the witnesses during the testimony, weigh the evidence submitted, and prove their claims. The applicant supports the finding and conclusions proposed by the hearing officer, subject to a few suggested additions and changes as set out in our January 9, 2013 exceptions. As noted in our exceptions, it is the university position that findings and conclusions proposed by the hearing officer on November 3, 2012 are overwhelmingly correct, but feel that several areas that require clarification to more fully and clearly reflect the proceedings. The proposed exceptions seek more clarification rather than substantially modifying the hearing officer's proposed determinations. While these suggestions are detailed in our submitted exceptions, I did want to outline several, including clarification of the scope of this board's action on February 25, 2011, which was not the board's final action on the application. In light of your simultaneous ordering of the contested case on your own motion, and the board's imposition of Condition 21, prohibiting any construction unless and until a final decision was rendered in favor of the applicant at the conclusion of the contested case. The applicant further suggests that the proposed conclusions also reflect the Hawaii Supreme Court's intervening decision in the State v. Pratt versus Pratt that was handed down and decided in 2012. The holding in Pratt is relevant to the issues of this contested case, as the Pratt court confirmed that even if all 3 elements of the Hanapi test are met, the privilege from Native Hawaiian customary and traditional practices are not absolute and may be subject to reasonable state regulation. The Pratt court directed that claims of right must be considered within a totality of circumstances, where there must be a balancing of the state's interest in the subject regulation, to the right of an individual can exercise a particular practice. The other significant suggestion is an exception to the proposed findings conclusion that accurately reflects the petitioner's failure of proof that the first prong of the Mauna Kea test, as petitioners did not submit direct testimony or specific evidence that they are, quote, descendants of Native Hawaiians who inhabited the Hawaiian Islands prior to 1778. This is a specific evidentiary requirement set out in Hanapi, Hash, and Pratt. All three cases talk about the evidentiary requirement. While several petitioners testified that in fact they were Native Hawaiians, none submitted testimony and evidence demonstrating descent from Native Hawaiians who inhabited the Hawaiian Islands prior to 1778. The hearing officer correctly found and concluded that the TMT project satisfies 8 criteria of HAR, Hawaii Administrative Rules, Section 13-5-30, subsection C. While petitioners claim that all 8 criteria must be satisfied in issuing the CDP, the argument is pointless, as the hearing officer correctly concluded that the criteria, all the criteria of subsection C are actually satisfied. The hearing officer concluded and correctly that the project was consistent with the purpose of the district, the conservation district, as one of the specific objectives of the district is to conserve and protect important resources through appropriate management. This is exactly what has been accomplished in this project with the adoption of the TMT project plan that is consistent with the state's CMP for Mauna Kea. The management plan specifically and thoughtfully addresses Mauna Kea's natural and cultural resources, including the environmental factors that make Mauna Kea arguably the best place on Earth to put telescopes. The express purpose of the district rules is to regulate land use, not to prohibit land use as claimed by the petitioners. The hearing officer also correctly concluded that the project is consistent with the objectives of the resource subzone, as astronomy facilities are expressly permitted in the subzone under an approved management plan. And again, under subsection C of the criteria, the hearing officer correctly found that the project complies with the guidelines and provisions set out in HRS Chapter 205A of the CZMA. This is the only CZMA objective for the project which concerns the protection of water quality. The applicant's witnesses provided testimony that the project has been designed so that wastewater pollutants will not be released into the surrounding environment. Petitioners' assertion that the TMT would undermine important viewpoints, destroy areas of historic importance, and increase the risk of water pollution were considered and rejected by the hearing officer. The hearing officer was responsible for weighing the evidence and assessing the credibility of the witnesses. The hearing officer also concluded that the project would not cause substantial impacts to existing natural resources within the surrounding area, community, and region. And we've detailed in considerable detail the reasons why he correctly found that. He also correctly concluded that the proposed land use is compatible with the locality and surrounding areas. While petitioners admit there are numerous observatories visible from the project and its surrounding areas, they wrongly contend that the project must reduce the cumulative impacts created by existing facilities to lessen substantial significant adverse. This was rejected by the hearing officer, who concluded that the project had satisfied this criterion. Under the next, the hearing officer found that the project correctly found that the project preserves and improves upon the existing physical and environmental aspects of land. Petitioners interpret this to prohibit adding any structure where none currently exists as a result. This was rejected by the hearing officer, concluding that this criterion was also met. The hearing officer also found that there would be no subdivision of land utilized to increase the intensity of land uses in the conservation district. The reason for this is the applicant is not seeking a subdivision plan, nor is one being granted by the board. Even if we were seeking it, like government agencies, the agencies of the state and the counties are not subject to that provision of the HRS cited by petitioners. Legally and factually, there has been and will be no subdivision.
50 minutes.
Thank you. Petitioners also presented no credible evidence of any detriment to the public health, safety, and welfare of Mauna Kea. We found that the university's experts and evidence were more credible and in rejecting the petitioner's claims. And I would like to thank the board again for the opportunity for the summation of the applicant's position that the proposed findings, fact, and conclusions of law are correct. If the exceptions suggested by the applicant in our January 9th, 2013 submission are also adopted by the board, I wanted to recognize the patient and effort of the hearing officer conducting contested case proceedings. I would also like to note the conduct and performance of petitioners, and what has been a long and sometimes tedious process. The parties have all acted professionally and respectfully towards the hearing officer, the applicant, and each other, and I commend them again for this. I'd like to reserve again the remaining time that I have for rebuttal. Thank you very much.
Yep. 14 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Kwan. Next petitioner up is Kinohi Nevis for Paul Nevis.
Okay, let's have some order here.
No, I'm going to say my piece. Guy, oh yeah. No more
Abel,
flag.
Abel.
So are you. So am I.
Abel.
So let's so treat us good, right, when you guys come over here, okay? We're not just some few years to wash underneath the glass.
Nobody's washing anybody. Abel, I'm going to.
You can do whatever they do, right? You run April, you run my life.
Okay, we're going to move on, Abel. Thank
Why
you.
not?
You're cutting into the petitioner's time here. Okay, we're gonna start now. Your 30 minutes starts now.
Aloha.
Aloha.
My name is Kinohi Nevis. I'm speaking on behalf of my father, Mauna Kea Nevis. Aloha to the God whose name is so sacred, it is not spoken in the open, but in the reverent silence of the believer. Aloha e nā kini akua, the four gods of state, Ku, Kane, Lono, and Kanaloa, the 40 gods, the 400 gods, the 4,000 gods, the 40,000 gods, the 400,000 gods, and all the manifestations of the one God whose sacred name is in the whisper. All you spirits of the departed who have been cared for with love, I welcome you here. Aloha e nā aumakua, you personal and family guardians. Advise and guide us, and do what you must to strengthen our relationships with each other and the land. Aloha na ali'i, fellow activists, customary leadership, whose kuleana is to continue the flow of mana. Blessings for all our people, your fellow countrymen, by being generous and productive resource managers. You have been an eyewitness to all that Akua has provided, from time immemorable to our people and our land. You have also been an eyewitness to an ongoing crime scene of unspeakable proportion upon those same people and those same lands.
Amen.
You ali'i men and ali'i women, fellow activists, we are all called to serve our people with our very lives. These days and times require that we give our very life for our country, the Hawaiian Kingdom. This nation will require a new age of heroes who have integrity and honor, morals, ethics, compassion, self-sacrifice, and a desire to fight and serve their own country. No foreign entity, occupational authority, or an agency of any state can ever erase the fine print. Who serve with integrity can begin to heal our people and our land, and rediscover our destiny as a free and independent people. From Mauna Kea comes the snow and ice, solitude and quiet, to nurture the hearts and minds of the people. Do not sell out, and the people will remember your name with honor. Give in to today's desires of money, power, and personal gratification, and your name will be spoken in shame and without honor, maybe not even at all. Aloha na kupuna na makua, our elders and fellow parents and workers. We have searched in the last 40 years the truth of what happened to our people and our nationhood. The state of Hawaii didn't help us in our search, neither did the United States of America. We, the Kānaka Maoli people, and our friends did the searching ourselves, out of our own despair and empty pockets, at work and after work, from a secretary's desk or from a tent in some remote beach. We did it ourselves, with our copy machines, our notepads and flyers, and in our protests and marches, our arrests and sit-ins, our voices, and our burning desire for justice. Yes, many kupuna and makua have died giving rebirth to a nation reborn, a patriotic duty to a good and decent cause. Stand up, we did, and encouraged our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to do the same. For the truth does matter, doesn't it? The lies that we were taught or forced to listen to since 1893 were educational indoctrination. Genocide of the worst sort, a living death sentence for the people of this land and our fellow Hawaiian nationals. There is no going back to a time when the occupation did all it could to erase our spiritual will to live, our cultural knowledge to survive, and our political nationality to be free. Aloha, Opio, Keiki, and Kamali'i, our young people, children, and babies. Know you are loved. Know that what we are doing is to ensure that your land, this land, your inheritance, our Aina, will be here for you to live upon and for you to pass on to your descendants. It is what we must do and what you will have to do when our nation calls. So learn to watch and listen carefully. Never fear to speak out for this land and your people. Call the lawyer out to task and a senator to service. They are no better than you. In fact, they may be far behind. Your culture extends thousands of years. What has been their experience on the world stage? 235 years. Know that your ancestors were warriors and healers, planners and builders, navigators and farmers, philosophers and poets, dancers and fishermen, priests and astrologers, leaders and team players, scientists and sportsmen, clean and hardworking, deeply religious and spiritually active. Be proud and follow in their path as we do. Know that they and we are always with you. O kia kamanava, now is the time. It has taken me 45 years to find myself as a spirit-led being, culturally a Kānaka Maoli, native person, and politically a Hawaiian national. I can recall my journey beginning with the simple stories from my mother. Her memories of the pain of disenfranchisement, ridicule, and survival under the yoke of a foreign master, the United States. These stories were my mother's love for a confused young man of 13 years old. They were told in a style that at times made me cry and laugh, but most of all, set me on a path to save myself. They were inspirational and clear, deeply spiritual, culturally beautiful, and bitterly political. I was broken, angry like many of my brothers and sisters. Mauna Kea is that wahipana, that sacred place that has made me a whole person. No longer do I need to seek refuge somewhere in a godless world that follows a godless path. The spiritual worship on and with the spiritual life of Mauna Kea completes my lifelong search for who I am as a Kānaka, a free Hawaiian man. To this Mauna Kea, I owe my life story, my mother's prayers, my wife's love, and my children's future. Mauna Kea is that natural environment that breathes life into me and causes me to reflect on the creative spirit within me. The shadow of Mauna Kea holds my heart close in the early evening and renews my daily walk each and every new day. Over the past 15 years, I have become a more creative and tolerant person because of my relationship to the mountain. I hold my people in a more hopeful light, with less doubt and with a greater anticipation of a brighter future. Mauna Kea has restored my family beyond my greatest aspirations. As I have witnessed this transformation, so also have I witnessed the transformation of many others as they sought answers to questions deep in their hearts. Time and time again, Mauna Kea has spoken to the many people who truly seek out the creative force of Mauna Kea that emanates in this most sacred place. Every morning I look to Mauna Kea and acknowledge what Keakua has done for me, for my family, and for my people. Mauna Kea is the Creator's home, the people, the center force, the greatest temple on earth. As an ali'i, I am honored and humbled by Mauna Kea, and will continue to encourage the spiritual enlightenment that Mauna Kea brings to the human community. As a kumuhula, I am inspired by Mauna Kea each and every day. I will continue to do all I can to keep Mauna Kea accessible to all who seek spiritual refreshment and renewal. As a husband and father, I have an obligation for the welfare of my ohana, to live the breath of Mauna Kea within me and in all that I do and say. If I need to be a warrior, so be it. But it will be a warrior armed with aloha. The 30mm telescope TMT, telescope development, in this my sacred temple of religious practice will seriously interfere with my ability to adore Mauna Kea. How can we put our shattered lives back together again if these foreign objects are allowed to alter the natural landscape in the natural temple, Mauna Kea? As our kupuna has said, when is enough enough? How can we be in solitude and beauty with these foreign objects in our view planes that have existed since these islands were created by Keakua? I recognize the natural view planes created by Apua. What church of these foreigners would allow such a desecration before their altar? What would they allow it to be? Would a camouflage be acceptable? A paint job? Would they tell their congregation to just look the other way? Would they take money to look the other way? Would the interests outside of their church be allowed to dictate the process? Wouldn't that church consider this sacrilegious? Why is Mauna Kea allowed to be desecrated but not St. Peter's? Could it be that the godless are worshiping a golden calf? Why are the laws that are in place to protect the trust lands of the native Hawaiians and the general public being broken without objection?
Yeah.
What are regulations like the 8 criteria for a conservation district use permit for? HAR 13530. Criteria number 1. The proposed land use is consistent with the purpose of a conservation district. How can this 18-story building be consistent with conservation? That's impossible. A conservation district is to conserve land deemed very important. By developing that land, you devalue its purpose. To contemplate developing conservation land, you bring injury upon us who worship there and are practicing our customs. Are not the laws in place to protect the land and the people's interests? They clearly are written to be followed, are they not? Does a developer pick and choose which ones he wishes to adhere to? Why do we have regulators who are failing miserably in their oversight? Is mitigation part of the 8 criteria? Where is that found in the statutes? Why do we have regulators who are failing miserably in their oversight? Is mitigation part of the 8 criteria? Where is that found in the statutes? Why do the elected officials show no backbone when these laws and regulations are being broken? Where are the cops? Why is someone not being arrested? Is this not a crime scene? Criteria number 4. The proposed land will not cause substantial adverse impacts to existing natural resources within the surrounding area, community, or region. It is quite obvious that this TMT proposal will impact the natural resources, the surrounding area, the community, in fact, the whole island. You can't hide a huge thing like the TMT proposal by air, land, or sea. How that would hurt us, who need a spiritual place in this natural setting to keep our lives together. Criteria number 6. The existing physical and environmental aspects of land, such as natural beauty and open space characteristics, will be preserved or improved upon, whichever is applicable. Natural, as defined by Webster's dictionary, means produced or existing by nature, not artificial. Natural in Hawaiian dictionary, among other things, means honest, decent, proper, appropriate, satisfactory, rightful, reliable, right, just, fair, qualified, suitable, advisable, seemly, fit, natural, applicable, nearby, worth, and merit. This TMT proposal does not fit criteria number 6, nor does it preserve or improve upon the open space that exists there at this very moment. And this is why I'm absolutely against this TMT proposal and any other proposal on sacred Mauna Kea, our place of worship and religious practice. How can we practice our customs and grow spiritually when our spiritual place and natural setting is used for 18-story buildings, parking lots, pull stations, and roads? It would be another slap in the face and stab in the back to build this monster in our temple of prayer. I have lived long enough to hear and see my people cry, and still the state of Hawaii gives the rubber stamp to development after development after development. Many have given up on justice. I don't blame them because no one was arrested on the USS Boston for January 16, 1893 either. No one was court-martialed. No one was arrested on the U.S. Minister Stevens. No one could be arrested for breaking the laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom and properly tried for high treason, as they should have been. Rather, the Queen was arrested for treason in her own country and imprisoned in her own palace. No one was arrested for looting the treasury and paying themselves for their work. Who is liable for monetary damages for destruction of the land in the conservation district?
Yeah.
Who is liable for past destruction on the conservation district? Myself and my family have had to use our own financial resources for 15 years to fight for Mauna Kea, even though the protections are already in the law. Why was the BLNR not advocating to protect these public trust lands?
Mm-hmm.
No one was arrested for banning the Hawaiian national language and forcing the Kānaka to obey or else. No one was arrested for putting the American flag, a foreign flag, over our islands. No one was ever arrested for teaching lies in the public schools. No one was arrested for terrorizing and intimidating our Hawaiian nationals with statehood or the Hawaiian Homes Department scandals. These and other crimes were committed against a free and friendly nation under treaty with the United States of America. No one has done or did anything about the crime scene. My survival and the survival of my family is threatened by the TMT proposal. The natural view planes from Mauna Kea to Haleakala I have spoken of before in a previous contested case. From Pu'ukea to Haleakala, there is the connection for my family all the way to just above Poliahu Heiau on Kauai. We are the Kea family. My children were named for this natural view plane so that they can never forget where they come from and how we are connected. This TMT proposal puts another stress upon my freedom to worship at Mauna Kea. My freedom to practice my culture as a kumupula and an ali'i in my homeland, in and around Mauna Kea. Most importantly, my freedom to be free from the occupation of the United States of America. Deny the TMT proposal. It injures my spirit, my well-being, and the future of my children. I cannot relinquish my spiritual practice or spiritual space to anyone. In the end, that's all that I really have, is my freedom. Mahalo. Thank you. Thank you.